I find these little exceptions really interesting because they don't really make a lot of sense, right? Like, why is it when somebody's singing, you can hear their voice, but if they're talking, you can't at all? Like, if you try to hear someone talking, it just does not happen.
Nope. It's super weird. I think because like when it's a song, I know exactly what they're saying and I know how they're gonna say it. Like I don't have to like make up how they sound.
If you enjoy this podcast, show us some love and take a couple minutes to leave a 5-star review. It helps us get found by more listeners, and we greatly appreciate it. Aphantasia is a condition characterized by an inability to visualize mental images in one's mind. If you have just discovered that you or someone you love has aphantasia, or if you're just fascinated by the subject in general and love learning more about it, you are in the right place. The Discovering Your Mind podcast delves into all aspects of the mind's eye, including aphantasia, hyperphantasia, and everything in between. Welcome to the Discovering Your Mind podcast, brought to you by shanesbraindomain.com. I am your host, Shane Williams, also known as Shane's Brain, and we are back. After 53 episodes and 53 weeks, I decided to take a little break, but now I am back, and for now, I'm just going to do episodes as opportunities arise, and one arose, and it's good to be back. So today, we are talking with the one and only Celeste. Hi, Celeste. How are you?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me on your first episode back.
You are welcome. It's great to have you. We're excited about it. To get started, why don't you just let us know a little bit about yourself, what you do for a living, and that sort of thing?
Perfect. So my name's Celeste. I am 24. I live in the DC area. I work in HR for a large holding company. So I mostly focus on compensation, boring stuff. But I first got kind of interested in this topic, I would say like 2022. And since then have probably picked like everyone I know's brain about it. So when I came across your book, thought this would be a fun opportunity.
What about hobbies and interests? What do you like to do for fun?
Growing up, I was really big into both swimming and singing, which I still do now, although I've come to realize I'm not a good singer, but I do enjoy doing it. So I do that a lot. Still swim when I can. Big into traveling, going to Europe for the summer for a month. So excited about that. Yeah, mostly just kind of traveling with my fiance, our cat. So.
Okay, very cool. All right. So are you familiar with the term the mind's eye?
Yes.
So the phrase mind's eye refers to the ability to imagine or visualize something in one's mind. It suggests a mental picture or representation of an event, object, or scene that is not physically present. So based on that definition of a mind's eye, would you say that you have one?
Not at all. I always assumed that phrases like that were hypothetical, like metaphors for my whole life until I realized that other people actually do that. So definitely not.
All right. So that is what we now call aphantasia. I just want to hear your story a little bit. Tell me about how you first discovered it and how it's affected your life, either negatively or positively, finding out about it.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there have been like stages of emotions with finding out about it. But the first time I found out about it, I was having a conversation with my friend, and she was trying to describe to me how like she doesn't think in words. And that was crazy to me. And I was just always assumed everyone thought only in words. So that was the first time I was like softly introduced to the idea of it, but didn't fully get that she meant like images. And then I came across a tweet like a few months later that was referencing the same thing, but then someone replied to it and was like, oh yeah, but did you know that some people can't see pictures in their mind? And I was like, what do you mean see pictures in their mind? Like, and then I was like, is that what they meant in all of like the meditations that everyone told me to try? Because like people have been like, oh, you should try meditating. And I was like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Why am I closing my eyes thinking about being on a beach? I just see darkness or like the void. So right. A lot of things just after I read that tweet like clicked, and I ran into my roommate's room and I was like, can you like see like when you close your eyes, like do you see things? They were like, yeah, like, what do you mean? Like, everyone does. I was like, I do not at all. And then I got really mad, started polling people, texted my therapist. I was like, I need an emergency session. This is crazy. And talked to like everyone in my life about it. Basically, after I first realized, started talking to people about it, I like started just thinking about what life would be like if I could do that. And so I think at first I was really mad because I was like being really extreme with it. And I was like, man, like when people pass away, like I can't see memories with them. And I've always had a pretty bad long-term memory, but pretty good short-term memory. And then with just like small things, I was like, oh, no wonder geography was so hard for me. Like I would try to remember maps by like, okay, these letters like can make this phrase and I'll remember that. So then I was like, wow, my life has been so much harder for no reason. And then I started thinking about it more and I was like, okay, it's actually really cool that everyone thinks differently. If somebody had just told me this and like told me workarounds for this is actually probably pretty good in some ways too. Like if you experience something traumatic, you can't see it in the daytime, at least. I can visualize at night. So, different there. But I was like, okay, that's an advantage. And then I was like, I've always been an essay writer. The reason I went into HR was that I liked legal writing and things like that. And like my friend who doesn't think in words was like, I can't write essays. Like they just don't come to me. I'm just like trying to put images on a paper and I can't do that. And it made me realize why I've been really bad at drawing, because I know you probably could be good at drawing with it, but I was trying to draw from memory and there's no memory there to pull from. So just there was a lot of emotions about it. Now I just find it easier to like navigate life because I know what my strengths will be and like where I might need to have creative ways to make up gaps. Like even my boss, like if he tries to explain something visual, he'll be like, oh, let me jot this down for you since I know that you can't do that. And I'm like, wow, if like we talked about this, that could make a lot of people's lives easier. So yeah, it's like been a weird change in life, I feel like.
All right. I really related to everything you said. I had very similar experiences as I was discovering it. Then just a lot of really cool insights about how to solve it and work with it and work with others. I mean, man, what a way to start. We could probably wrap up right now. That was really, really insightful. How do people react when you tell people about aphantasia?
I'll never forget the funniest reaction, I think, was I went on a Bumble like BFF date, like when I moved to a new city. So like not the dating version, like the friends version. And we like went out to dinner and I was like, one day I found out I couldn't visualize and it pissed me off. And she realized that she also couldn't. And it was the first person that I'd talked to that like realized they couldn't in front of me. And she was also really pissed. She was like, oh my God, I'm so mad. And like texted me about it for like weeks. And like we like didn't end up meeting up again for whatever reason, like just didn't happen. But I think it's hilarious that that's like the one interaction that I had with somebody. And then a lot of people in my life are just like, oh my God, it makes so much sense why you're like really good at something or really bad at something based on it. Like I'm terrible at driving directions because I'm not going to like memorize a bunch of like street names and where to go. So until I'm there and like I see it, that's when I remember it. But I still use maps because I don't know if I remember it the entire time, even if I do know it. Or like my therapist was like, oh my God, no wonder EMDR didn't work for you, because it's like visually walking through memories. And like for me, it was terrible, triggered a bunch of nightmares because I was trying to do that therapy work at night. Neither of us knew I couldn't visualize. So like that had really good treatment potential. So we were like, okay, cool. And we did it. And I was like, this is terrible. And I was like, this makes no sense. What do you mean? Like, what do you see when you think of this memory? I just think of the memory. So a lot of things like that. And then some people like started realizing the other senses that you have in memory. And I don't remember who it was first that realized it. I think it might have been my roommate, but she was like, well, do you like hear music in your head? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, well, not everyone does that. And I was like, oh, okay, that's weird. So then we started thinking about everything else. And like, it turns out my auditory memory is great. Makes a lot of sense. But like my roommate's auditory memory like didn't exist. And so it's just been interesting because a lot of people, I feel like, as we've talked about it, have found out about themselves too, which has been cool.
Yeah. So was that the first time your therapist had ever heard of such a thing?
Yeah. And she was like, I should probably like change my treatments. She actually,
right.
She wasn't the one who did the EMDR. She had referred me to someone, but she recently took EMDR classes, and she was like, I've even been thinking like in the classes, like, okay, how could I modify this for this to work for someone that can't visualize and all of these things, which was pretty cool. Cause I think that, again, if we like talked about it more and it was more in like science and like genuinely taught like in schools and therapeutic treatments and in different spaces, that we would be a lot more effective human being wise.
Yeah, I agree. It really is an amazing little key of knowledge that can unlock that opportunity to just communicate better and
Definitely.
connect better with each other. All right. In general, when you close your eyes, what do you see?
I used to just say that I would see black, but it's really more of like empty space. It's not like black. I don't know, because it's not as dark as black is. So just kind of like an empty void.
Okay. Can you think of nothing if you want to?
No, but my mom can. That freaks me out. She's like, yeah, I just turn my brain off. Like, what do you mean? Like, I annoy myself.
Okay. When you say that, do you think you're talking more about your auditory part of that's hard to shut off?
Yeah, I can like sub my inner monologue with a song, but either a song is like kind of on in the background or I'm thinking in just like inner monologue.
Okay. Does your mom have aphantasia?
She, I think, has like mildly. She's like, I can like see like blurry, like really dull images, but she doesn't have very vivid imagery. My dad does have very, very vivid imagery. Like, he would get mad at me when I was driving because he'd be like, how do you not know like this route by now? Like, just look at the map in your head. I was like, what do you mean look at the map in my head? Like, that sounds so stupid to me. I had no clue what he meant until like 10 years later. So
Right. All right. Do you feel like you have control over your thoughts?
as a kid, I really didn't. I've learned to as an adult, but I was very like obsessive with my thoughts as a kid. If I got hooked on like one thing because I can't like turn my brain off, I would just think about that thing until I found something else to replace it. And it was genuinely just annoying. It ended in me just talking a lot, which is funny because now that I can control that a little bit more, I genuinely don't talk half as much. Like, I will if I'm really engaged in a conversation like this that I find interesting and cool, but like if I get back from work, usually I'm like, give me like 3 hours. Like, I don't want to talk for a while. Whereas I used to talk all the time when my thoughts were always racing because I was like, I need somebody to talk with me about this thought so I can move on to a different thought. Now I'm like, okay, I can like put on a song in my head and listen to that instead.
Okay. That is very interesting. What is your process for memorizing something?
I had to do a lot of presentations for my major, and I had to do a lot of presentations when I was taking Spanish, and I was terrible at Spanish. I got like 9th percentile on the Spanish SAT, like worst I've ever done in my life on anything. But I could remember like a 10 to 15 minute speech word for word just because I would practice it so repetitively to get it stuck in my head. With school, I was very dedicated, so it would take me a lot longer, I felt like, than most people, but I would memorize it. It would just be a lot of repetition.
Okay, that's interesting. I want to talk about that a little bit more because when you have the auditory, where I don't have that in my mind, if you can hear yourself repeating and repeating and repeating.
Yeah, I have to hear it. Like, I can't think it. I have to either hear it or type it. If I type it, that works too for some reason. But before I knew what this was, I would use songs to remember a lot of school stuff. I would just make up songs for it because I realized that like the stupid like preamble songs and stuff like stuck. So I just started making them for myself.
Have you ever had moments of visualization or something outside the norm?
Mostly just in dreams. The one other person that I met that had it, she had done psychedelics and was able to visualize during psychedelics, but not like in the things moving around way, she said. And like she was seeing old memories that she hadn't seen. And that's kind of what it's like for me in dreams. I'll be like, oh, that's like what the street to my childhood house looked like. Like, I remember what that looked like now, even though I can't picture it in the daytime still. But I'll like sense that I saw it. It's kind of weird.
Okay.
But I've never had it during the day. I wonder if it's a thing that like everyone can access subconsciously. It's just like what brings it out for you. Like, everyone has the ability to do it, but you have to be like doing the right drug or sleeping or like, I don't know, have a concussion and then your memory changes after that, something.
Right. And we've talked about that. It's not necessarily the inability to do it. It's the inability to access it.
Yeah.
in an awake state or a normal state.
When someone asks me, I'm like, oh no, I could describe what that room looks like to you, and like I can feel myself in it, but I can't see anything. But like it's right there.
Right. I sometimes call it seeing without seeing.
Yeah, that's how it feels for me usually.
Right. Which on the surface doesn't make sense, but for those of us who have experienced it, makes sense.
Yep.
All right. So you mentioned to me that you might have had the ability to visualize when you were younger. Can you talk about that?
So I don't know for sure, but I feel like at some point I could, because I don't remember like the sayings sounding as weird to me when I was younger. And they say like with like a lot of children, like some literally do see their imaginary friends or like things like that. Mm-hmm. So I read that, physical trauma, emotional trauma, all of those things can rewire your brain. Obviously, we know that, but that can also change the way that you like have memories, things like that. And after experiencing a couple traumas, couple concussions, couple emotional things, my memory would just be terrible for a while. And it was so good before then. And I did feel like if I was, looking at a graph, like I would understand what it would look like if something changed. And then that kind of went away. So I have always wondered, and I always felt like I could kind of see words, at least when I was thinking them. I would like actually be looking at words. And I definitely have not had that in a long time. So that I remember being able to do. And then I think I lost that after the concussions because it made reading a lot harder for me. And then the other visual stuff, since I feel so much like I can access it, I've just always thought that at some point I had to have been able to and like maybe lost it. But I just have a sense that most children can. And okay. I don't know, like maybe like some people are like, all kids can see ghosts. And I don't know how I feel about that. But I kind of feel like that about visualizing is like, I feel like maybe a lot of us start with that and then something happens. And like for one reason or another, people adapt to whatever style of thinking like fits them best.
Right. So what age do you think that change might happen? If children are having that experience, or if you had that experience, what ages do you think it was? Pretty young?
I think pretty young. I remember being like extremely good at math and mental math until like third grade. And then it went away. And I felt like I used to be able to like, see the numbers add up in my head. And like that kind of left. And I think that was around third, fourth grade.
Did having aphantasia affect how you performed in school?
So I performed really well in school, but most of it was I literally got home and I studied until like 8 or 9 p.m. I was very determined to get into Georgetown. And that was like the only thing I focused on. So I think part of it was that, but part of it was that I chose subjects that I knew suited my memory strengths. I just didn't know like what that was necessarily. I just was like, oh, I'm good at these things. And now looking back, I'm like, that makes sense. Like I chose like policy classes and like history classes and things like that, where there's a lot of essay writing and not a lot of like memorization tests. Stayed away from like math and science, which like math, we got to geometry and I was like, what the hell do you mean imagine this in a 3D space? Like I'm out. Right. So then I stopped with that after that. I was like, nope. And then science, they were like, remember this nuclear structure and then draw it. And I was like, nope, that's out. So I didn't really know why. I don't think I would have done good in high school or college had I tried to go like a science or math route that required more of that. I'm sure it's possible for someone with aphantasia to do that, but I think you would either need to be super, super dedicated and interested in it, or know that that is something you have and like find ways around it. Some people probably naturally do that. Like I did, but mine was avoid that thing, not get better at it. And I feel like too, the way that they do teach it actually has the reverse effect when you think about aphantasia. Like they said I was a visual learner, and that's because somebody putting it visually in front of me helped because I couldn't visualize it myself. Right. But like I'm not a visual learner. Like I'm an auditory learner. I just like that already made sense to me. I didn't need extra help in auditory hearing. I needed extra help to see visuals. So they always said I was a visual learner. I'm like, okay, I'm a visual learner. That doesn't make any sense in the context of this. So the part of it they teach doesn't fully line up.
Does having aphantasia affect how you perform in your career now or in your hobbies, the things you enjoy?
I think, again, it affected what I chose. So I've tried to reduce how much it's affected it. So my job right now requires a lot of data analysis, and I wasn't great at that in school because we weren't like using Excel. We were like picking from things on, a test, and it was multiple choice. And sometimes it was hard for me to think through it that way. But doing it in my career has actually worked really well for me because I can just test out all of the different visuals and like pull and change things until it looks right, and until it's giving me the data I need. So I think kind of it flipped from what it was in school, and I tend to make a lot of visuals for work, which I never expected, but it's because I can kind of play around with them until like I know what I'm trying to show and I know what it will look like. I just have to click things until it does look like that. So I think in that way, no, but it has in that like my boss is a very visual person, and I mean, I'm lucky that I have a manager that very much is like into teaching and like passing on information, and like he'll take an extra 30 minutes to walk you through something if it means that you're going to have like a career motivator from that. And so I told him that I can't visualize when he was explaining something super visually one day, and he was like, oh, okay. And then he just like got a like piece of paper and started drawing what he was meaning. And that has helped so much. And like, we'll do that in real time all the time for different things. And it's funny because I don't even remind him. He actually found it so interesting that he does it without me asking. I asked once, and now he does it every single time he's explaining something that's visual. He writes it down for me. And the first time he'll explain it, I think he'll see that I'm looking at him kind of like head spinning. And then he'll be like, oh, I'm explaining something visual. Hold on. And then he'll start writing it down. So it has benefited me in that I've had people around me that are very accommodating to it and that I've been vocal about it. But I think I would not have learned the same amount in those situations had I not known to say that and had he not been like super accommodating of it.
It's time for Aphantasia, the part of the show that lets you chime in and share your thoughts, insights, and experiences.
Hi, my name is Megan. I'm 27 years old, and I just discovered in the past week from listening to this podcast and a couple others like it that I have hyperphantasia. I would say it greatly affects my mental health in both positive and negative ways. If I'm experiencing something in real life that is not pleasant, I can easily just check out in my mind and have a visualization or have an auditory component to it as well of different things I've experienced, and they'll play out as if I'm experiencing them all over again in real life, which can be positive and acts as an escape for me. But on the negative side, if I experience something traumatic or something I don't want to recall, I can play those images, those videos, I guess for lack of a better word, out in my head, and it can cause me emotional and physical distress as if I'm experiencing them all over again, all throughout my day, because they're intrusive and they bombard me. So I feel like it has greatly affected my mental health, and it's probably something that's contributed to diagnoses I've had in the past in regards to my mental health. But it's been helpful to hear about people's experiences on this podcast because I've been able to see that maybe because people don't have these visualizations, they may respond in a way that I don't, and it helps me to better understand myself and others.
If you would like to participate and hear yourself featured on the podcast, go to shanesbraindomain.com and click on the Aphantasia section. Can you picture a chicken in your mind?
No.
Okay. Can you visualize a chicken in your mind?
I'm just thinking the word chicken over and over.
Okay. So that came in audibly? You just heard the word chicken?
I just heard the word chicken over and over. I just repeated it.
Okay, very cool. All right, what about this one? Can you imagine a chicken in your mind?
I can like imagine what a chicken sounds like, but I can't like imagine anything really other than the sound.
Okay. And then last one, can you think about a chicken in your mind?
Yeah, but I kind of just think chicken again. There's not
Okay.
much else there other than chicken.
All right. That was just an experiment real quick about the different words that we use, because as I've talked to more and more people, I've learned that if I ask someone to picture something, it's not necessarily the same thing's going to happen if I ask them to visualize it or think of it. Different things are happening. Can you talk a little bit more about what happened and if there was any differences depending on the words I used?
Yeah, I think when I hear picture it, I think just of the image. So I'm like, no, there's nothing there. But when I hear imagine it, I think of more like other senses as well.
Other than the sound, was there any detail about an actual chicken? Like, did you think about a chicken that was moving or still, or was it nothing?
I thought about a chicken as a logo. I was like, Chick-fil-A is chicken. But that's
Okay.
like really the only thing.
Okay. So was there color in the thought? I know there wasn't a visual, but did you think about the color?
Well, I didn't, but now that you say that, I would say red. But
Okay.
I didn't think about it until you said it. I was talking to my fiance about this earlier, and he was like, well, when I think about, or he was actually talking about an apple. He's like, well, when I think about an apple, I think about like the curvature at the bottom and like how red is the apple and like all of those things. And I was like, I don't do all that. My brain's just like apple.
Right. It's very vague, right?
Yeah, super
Just
vague.
kind of a, I describe it as kind of a vague, distant concept
Yeah.
of an apple, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we already established that you can hear the chicken. What about, can you smell the chicken in your mind?
No, I actually have a terrible sense of smell in general. So I don't know how I would do that because I can barely smell a chicken if it's like in front of me as well.
Have you ever been able to smell anything in your mind? Is that a
No,
thing
I
you
don't
have at
think
all?
so. I don't think I've been able to ever smell anything or taste anything. Like if someone's like, can you taste chicken? I'm like, no. And I probably eat it like 3 times a week. I have no clue.
Okay. What about touch? What about the sensation of touch? Can you experience that in your mind?
Yeah, definitely. And I can give myself any symptom of anything if I think about it enough. Like if I think about touching a hot stove, I can feel that sensation immediately. And like uncomfortably intensely too. But I have chronic pain and I think it's a nerve thing. My nerves are very reactive. My memory picks up on that, maybe for the same reason that I feel like I have more like muscle memory than other types of memory. But I can feel sensations very easily in my mind.
Okay, very cool. All right, so you've got sound and you've got touch.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about those. On the visual scale, we talk about, aphantasia means none, hypophantasia means low, phantasia means medium or average, and hyperphantasia means high, right? Mm-hmm. So let's talk about this on the same scale of the mind's ear, right? We got the mind's eye, now we got the mind's ear. How would you rate yours on that scale? Would you say it's low, medium, or high?
I would say probably medium. I can definitely hear a song like in the voice of the artist, but if I think of like my fiance's voice, I can't hear his voice though. It's got to be like something that is tied to music for me.
Okay, interesting. Do you have an inner monologue?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I can actually hear myself talking, but sometimes I can't like hear it in the same way that like I say like, oh, I feel like I can like see being in the room even though I can't actually see it. Sometimes I get that sensation with like thinking to myself as well, but sometimes I'm actually like hearing the words. Part of it depends on like how much noise is going on around me. And then I think part of it depends on if I'm like actively trying to repeat something to myself. Like if I was repeating something to myself to like remember a speech at school, like we talked about, I would definitely like hear myself as I'm doing that. But if I'm just like, I don't know, thinking about a TV show I'm watching, I might not like hear myself. I just feel like I'm like processing thought though still.
Okay. All right. So when you hear it, it is in your voice.
Yeah.
Can you identify the pitch and tone of your voice in your mind?
I think so. Like, I mean, everyone like cringes when they hear their voice played back. I feel like I hear mine like a little bit more high pitched than it actually is.
Okay. Do you play out conversations in your mind?
Yeah, all the time. That's
okay.
Like, I think where a lot of anxiety comes from is just until something happens, I'm stuck in like playing out different scenarios all the time.
Okay. So when you're doing that, do you hear other people's voices or just your own?
No, I hear like my interpretation of what I think they're going to say.
In
if
your
that makes
voice?
sense. Yeah. So like,
Okay.
I'll play out like, if I say this, what do I think they're going to say back? But I'm still listening to myself hear what I think they're going to say back. I'm not like actually hearing them say it.
So the only voice you ever hear in your mind is your own?
Unless it's a song. I can hear.
Unless it's a song. Okay.
Unless it's a song. I can hear like, I've been playing different Taylor's versions in my head today since she announced the Taylor's thing yesterday. So I've been like playing the different versions of it in my head all morning.
I find these little exceptions really interesting because they don't really make a lot of sense, right? Like, why is it when somebody's singing, you can hear their voice, but if they're talking, you can't at all? Like, if you try to hear someone talking, it just does not happen.
Nope. It's super weird. I think because like when it's a song, I know exactly what they're saying and I know how they're gonna say it. Like I don't have to like make up how they sound.
Okay.
But if it's like me envisioning a conversation, like I would have to like make a string of words in their voice that I haven't necessarily heard them say, or that I haven't like listened to them hear repeatedly. Like if I try and think of like my fiance saying I love you, I can probably get a little bit closer to hearing that in my head because I hear that. But like just if I'm thinking of a conversation, not really. It has to be something that would be repeated, definitely, like all the time for me to hear it.
Okay, that's interesting because I've heard some visual people say that they can visualize, but they can't conjure up anything new. It's all something they've had to have seen it before. For them.
Yeah, that's how I kind of feel about the hearing thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. So you said earlier that the auditory thoughts in your head are pretty constant. Does it ever shut up? Does it ever shut off?
When I smoke weed, it does a little bit. It calms down. So that's nice. Which I've always, since I moved to DC, I've always used medically for anxiety. And I think that's why, is because it calms kind of the racing thoughts. But that's pretty much the only time. Like, I mean, if I take my like legit anxiety meds, it does a little, but not nearly to the same extent.
Okay, so what does the phrase "I have a song stuck in my head" mean to you?
No matter what I think about, the song is in the background of it. Like sometimes I'm like listening, like if I forget my headphones, I'll listen to a song in my head on the way to work on the metro. Like I'll like consciously be like, okay, I want to listen to this song. As long as I can think of the first lyric of it, I can, and I know the song relatively well, I can usually play it in my head. But that to me is different than it getting stuck in my head. It getting stuck in my head is like, if I'm reading, the song's still playing in the background and I can't turn it off. If I'm like talking to someone, the song's still playing in the background. Like before taking the SAT for the second time, I didn't listen to music for 3 weeks because the first time I had a song stuck in my head and I couldn't get past the reading section as well as I wanted to. So I would say like stuck in my head means it's happening no matter what's going on. It just playing in my head would be like, I'm playing it. But if I start talking to someone, like it goes away.
Okay. So overall, would you say that that is a pleasant experience or a negative experience?
The stuck in my head, really annoying, but like the ability to play it is nice. Sometimes it being stuck in my head isn't terrible if it's like a couple of hours, but if it's like a week or two, that's pretty brutal. And then I never want to hear that song again. Like, I do not listen to Christmas music. It is banned in my household. My fiance hates me for it. It is banned. I refuse, because it will be stuck in my head for at least 3 months, and I don't want to listen to Christmas music in March. So no like jingles or like anything repetitive. Like that stupid Education Connection commercial, I had that stuck in my head for like a year. Like, I can't listen to anything that's that catchy. Like, I still can hear that song in my head now. I shouldn't have brought it up. It's gonna be in my head all day now. Terrible.
Wow. All right. Let's talk real quick about what I'm calling the mind's fingertip. Okay, we talked a little bit about that, the touch.
Mm-hmm.
The phrase mind's fingertip refers to the ability to touch or feel something in one's mind. It suggests a mental sensation of touch, such as an embrace, a texture, a temperature, or a breeze that is not physically present. So based on that definition, do you have a mind's fingertip?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, low, medium, or high?
High, I would say.
Okay, very cool. If I just say the word sandpaper, do you automatically feel that texture?
My like fingers started rubbing against each other when you said that, because that was just like my immediate like, oh, there's sandpaper. So yeah, it feels gritty.
Okay. Can you hug someone in your mind?
Yeah, because I kind of feel the pressure on my chest, but I don't necessarily feel myself like wrapping my arms around them. I more feel someone like hugging me, if that makes sense.
Okay. So can that bring you comfort?
It used to not. I've gotten more used to it as an adult. I think as a kid it like freaked me out, but I've slowly gotten more used to it. But my friends know I hate hugs. Like, anytime that any touch happens, I just can feel it for a really long time after. So I'm like very conscious of it. Like, if someone pokes me, I feel it for like 30 minutes. And like, that's not, it's obviously not still there, but the sensation is still there. So I'd say, honestly, for me, it's more of like lingering sensations than conjuring it up. Although I can definitely conjure it up. Like, if I think I should be nauseous, then like I'll be nauseous. It doesn't matter if I'm actually nauseous or not.
It sounds to me like this inner sense, the sense of touch, is not super pleasant for you. It's kind of annoying. Is that?
Yeah, it's pretty overwhelming for me and annoying. But I think it's a chronic pain thing. I don't know if it would be if I didn't have chronic pain, but I've had chronic pain since I was like 14 from an injury. And so for me, like, any sensation when my nerves fire, I feel like I can just like make my nerves continually fire there. So I actually do a lot of like touch distraction stuff. Like, I'll like specifically like put lidocaine somewhere, and it's more that I can focus on that sensation than it actually like taking away pain. It just helps like pull in the focus, because I think once I feel the sensation, I feel it for a while. It's very strange.
Okay. So can you use it as a positive though? Like, for example, I know there's no visuals, but like imagining something that's very pleasant for you, like, I don't know what it is, but for me, it would be something like, wading through a creek, or, being at a beach and having the water rise up on my feet. Like, can you feel those kind of things if you try?
I have honestly, I guess, never tried to use it to my advantage. So I've never tried to proactively use it. It's always been reactive to a negative thought, honestly, because I've just never thought to use it that way. But that could be a good tool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let me know how that goes.
I will. Love learning some.
Okay. So can you feel like the breeze on your face?
Yeah. But I can feel more of like the temperature sensation moving past. For me, it's a hot breeze because DC is really humid and windy.
Right.
So it's not cold. Right. It's like a warm flushing sensation.
Right. Okay. I could go on and on asking you about the touch thing, because like the visualization thing's huge. There's a million things you talk about it. Mm-hmm. Some of the other senses, it kind of narrows. but the touch one is huge again. So just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Like, if you imagine yourself typing on a keyboard, can you feel the keys on your fingertips?
1,000%. My typing speed is ridiculously high too, because I know exactly, I don't look when I type, and I don't do you know how there's a certain way that you can learn to type that you don't have to look because it like functionally works. I don't do that. I just feel where the keys are. Like I know where it is. I'm like that on my phone too. As long as I've like used something for a day, it'll adapt.
Okay. Do you feel like that inner ability helps you in the real world?
Yeah, I think typing speed is a really underrated way to be good at your job. If you have a high email job, like you get through things a lot quicker. I get my thoughts out a lot quicker too. So I feel like if there's a fleeting thought, I capture it. I don't think I would capture it otherwise. And since I have a very like quick dialogue inner monologue wise, I think I would lose a lot of thoughts if I couldn't.
Wow. So right now, if you're feeling the keys, you can feel the texture of them, the spaces in between, the temperature of them, all of that.
Yeah, definitely. Like my personal laptop is a flatter and cooler texture and temperature than my work laptop. The keys are like a little bit higher and less glossy. But yeah, I definitely can. And I also can like hear like my friends that have nails when they type. Like I can hear their nails typing when I think about typing. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Which is why I don't get my nails done, because I'll get that noise stuck in my head if they're too long. I hate the like clicky tap noise.
Wow. So what if I told you, imagine that your keyboard was made out of Jell-O? Can you feel that?
Yeah, that's gross.
Share the gift of laughter with your children and grandchildren with books full of funny poetry and silly stories by Shane D. Williams, available on shanesbraindomain.com. When you read a novel, how well can you think about what the characters and surroundings might look like?
Not at all. I deeply hate novels that spend 3 pages talking about what the tree looks like, because it means nothing to me. Which is another reason that I feel like I must have been able to visualize as a kid, because I loved reading and I got like lost in the world of it. And I don't love reading anymore. I haven't honestly done it in a long time outside of reading for educational purposes, but I don't read for fun quite as much anymore. I'm trying to get back into it by reading about this since it interests me. And I know it'll be written in a lot of different ways, which is how I got on this podcast, by reading your book from that popping up. So that's been like nice to get back into reading that I feel like works with the way I think.
Right, like nonfiction stuff, right?
Yeah, but super visual.
I much prefer a nonfiction than fiction.
Yep, fantasy stuff has never been fantasy and sci-fi has never been for me, and I think it's because it's so descriptive of like building that world, and I can't build the world that I'm reading about. So,
right. What about the other senses that you have? Do those come into play when you're reading a novel? Like, can you hear the sounds and the voices in your mind?
You know how you listen to an audiobook, you hear someone say it? I hear myself. Like I'm my own audiobook when I'm
like you're narrating it in your voice.
Yeah, and I can't really imagine reading any other way. Like I guess I've never thought about that till now, but I'm like, how do you process it if not? Because that's how I feel like I process it, is I like hear it. I don't know. I guess you just process it.
Yeah, like my wife, she's hyperphantasia, and she reads nonstop, novels, fiction. And she doesn't hear anybody narrating it. She just sees and feels and hears and smells everything happen. It's like
so cool.
It's like being there, she says, for her. It's just happening all around.
When I found out people could do that. That sounds so fun. Like I would love that.
That's what I told her. I was like, if I could do that, I would love reading too. But to me, it's just words on a page.
Yep.
All right. What about the sensations of touch when you read? Do you ever, like if they're describing a scene where there's a sword fight happening or something, can you feel any of those sensations?
Yeah, I get like that both with reading and with like watching TV. Like if I read something medical or if I watch TV, like my friends and family tell me that I'm not allowed to Google. because if I feel like one sensation, I'll Google it and then I'll feel all the other sensations that I read. It's terrible.
Wow.
So if I'm stressed that I have something, I can definitely give it to myself, which is not ideal at all. It takes a lot of like work determining like, okay, am I feeling that because I'm thinking about it, or like, am I actually feeling that? I have to distract myself and see if it goes away or not. And I do that with feelings too. I've never understood how some people don't get like emotional and like emotionally attached to characters. And like I do, because like when they experience heartbreak, like I feel it with them. Like I feel it like my friend is experiencing heartbreak. And like I feel bad. And then like my chest hurts for them. And I'm like that with reading too.
You mentioned audiobooks. Do you like audiobooks?
I actually do not use them at all. And I don't do podcasts either, which is funny because I'm on one right now. But I keep telling myself I need to get into them. It's just that I'm so into music that it's always on. So I tend to like do more like educational reading, or if I'm going to read something, I usually will read it because I'll have music on in the background usually.
Do you think maybe the reason you might have trouble with an audiobook or a podcast is because it competes with your internal monologue that's always going?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'll just think too much during it, and then I get like lost, and I'm like, oh, I got to go back. So it's a lot of repetition. I do that like in person too. For a while, it was really hard for me to not, still kind of hard to not interrupt during conversations because I'm like answering themselves in my head. And if I don't say it, I lose it. Like the whole listen to respond, not listen to answer thing. Like I've been working really hard on that, but it's really hard because I hear the response like as the information's processing.
What does the phrase, the book was better than the movie, mean to you?
I've always just assumed that people like the details more, but now that like I've never understood when people were like, well, I didn't picture that character like that. So like I don't have like a preconceived notion of what they look like. If you told me they had brown eyes, I probably forgot. So I think for me, I've always just seen them as two completely different things because they're like two completely different experiences, which has never bothered me. But I could see if you have like a preconceived notion of like what a movie is going to be from reading a book, that you would get really annoyed about it if it didn't like live up to that preconceived notion.
Okay, let's shift to sleep and dreams real quick. Is it easy for you to fall asleep?
I used to have a terrible time falling asleep because ever since I can remember, my parents can remember, I've just always had really vivid dreams and really bad nightmares too. Like, so I used to have a really bad time falling asleep because sleep is like so not restful. I can rest much more during the day than at night because at night my brain is constantly like making images, and the whole dreams last 12 seconds thing. I will have the same dream all night long, and I know because I get up to go to the bathroom like 3 times a night because I'll just wake up because something exciting or annoying or terrible will happen, and then I'm awake, and then I'm like, okay, well, I may as well go to the bathroom and go back to sleep, and then it's back into the same dream.
Okay. So, and I think you did mention this earlier, it sounds like the dream experience isn't a super pleasant one for you either, right? So not having that during the day is nice.
Yeah. I don't know if it would be better or worse if I could during the day, because I don't know if it would like also just be like that all day, or if maybe during the day I could process things and then at night I would rest and it would like flip. Because I know like a lot of people with trauma will have like flashbacks as they go throughout their day. Like I can't really have flashbacks, but I'll have them at night. So I think for some people like night's restful because it's a break from that. And then for me, it's opposite. So I wonder if I could do it like at both times, what the case would be. But I've always, since I was young, had issues with it.
So the dreams, the nightmares, they're extremely vivid and detailed?
Yeah, super vivid, super detailed, like to the point that I have been mad at people in my life before for things they legit didn't do, but I could not separate that it was a like thing that happened in my dream. I fully thought that was something that happened in real life. Like I was mad at my roommate for like 2 weeks over something that when I said it, she was like, that literally never happened. And I was like, oh, good, I'm going crazy. So super, super vivid.
Okay. Since when you're dreaming, the visual comes alive, do any of those other senses come alive as well? Can you smell and taste in your dreams?
I can't smell and taste, but I can feel like super, super intense. Like the whole like drop off a cliff and like wake up thing. Like I'll wake up in like full on like panic, night sweats. So I have body reactions quite often. And like anyone that's ever shared a bed with me has been like, you toss and turn like crazy. And like I wake up like in a full sweat or like shaking and chills, depending on what it is, like all the time. When I first found out that you can do it consciously, I actually like went down this rabbit hole of like, oh, should I make myself do it consciously? And then I got scared because I was like, oh no, what if I see my nightmares in front of me in real life? I was like, that's terrible. I was like, hold on. I was like, it'd be really cool to be able to like see my grandpa who's passed away again, like remember a childhood memory like that. Cause like I'll replay childhood memories at night in my dreams, sometimes good, sometimes bad. And like, there are definitely memories that happen. I can see them in the dream, just not in real life. So I was like, oh, that'd be really cool. Like, you know, as people in my family start getting older and like just being able to remember those things a little bit more. And I was like, it'd be cool to like probably recover some old memories too. And then I was thinking about the nightmares and I was like, you know, let's stay away from that actually. I was like, I'm good for now.
All right. So when you do try to access a memory, how does that manifest in your mind?
I can't access a lot of them. I rely so much on like muscle memory and extreme logging of things. Like my physical therapy, I just had my physical therapist take pictures of me doing all of them so I'd remember what they were. So I just have like really intense memory aids, but I don't have super strong memories. Like I go to concerts all the time, love concerts. But like at concerts, I've never understood the whole like, oh, if you video it, you miss out on it thing. Because when I want to think about what happened, I won't remember. Like I'll remember the feeling of being there, but I won't remember specifics. So I love having the recordings because I can actually go back and like remember what happened. With Air's tour, I actually was like, I want to go once where I record everything for the memories and once where I just go to enjoy it. And I remember from the one that I recorded, I remember a little bit more of the specifics because I was trying to pay attention to them. Whereas the one that I went to enjoy it, I remember the feeling a lot stronger. So I'm a very feeling-based memory person, which I think is why the nightmares are so vivid and dreams are maybe less vivid, as I feel like bad feelings are usually stronger than good feelings, just like in intensity. So I remember things that have stronger feelings attached to them. Like it does work that way for happy memories as well. Like it has to be an extreme for me to remember it. It was just like a good solid day, gone after it's done.
Okay. Do you feel like your memories are accurate?
I actually read something where people with aphantasia have more accurate memories than those without it because they have to actively think about the things to remember them, but they won't remember as much. And people that visualize, they'll give you more answers, but they're actually less accurate because they're conjuring up a visual and visuals are also filled in by your imagination. So they're not that accurate. Right. So for me, I feel like when I remember something, it's super accurate, but it's also super spotty. Like the things I remember, definitely true. The things I don't remember, I just won't tell you. But that's why EMDR didn't work. I felt like I was just making up shit to answer a question. Like, what do you see when you think of this? I'm like, I don't know, like a chair. The hell? But like, if somebody was like, what was this person wearing yesterday? Somebody else might say green and it's blue. I'm just gonna tell you, I have no freaking clue unless I like actively thought about it for some reason. My apartment, when I was moving out, they were like, do you have one of the renovated units? And I was like, I don't know. And they were like, well, are your cabinets white or brown? I was like, I have no clue. And they were like, you've lived there for 2 years. And I was like, I don't know what color the cabinets are. And like, I just thought to myself, I was like, okay, if you're forcing me to have an answer, I guess brown, because I feel like the kitchen's kind of dark. Like it just didn't feel like a bright kitchen in my like memory of the feeling of it. They were white. They were definitely white. I got home and I had to call them. I was like, sorry to give you an inaccurate description, but I did tell them I didn't know, to be fair. So I wasn't wrong. I just didn't know.
Right. I'm the same way with those kind of things. Like people you've known forever, like somebody asked me, do they wear glasses? I'm like, I don't know. Do they? Like, it's so weird. You just, details like that just pass you by.
Yeah.
So how would you describe how your mind stores information?
This is kind of funny because I was talking to one of my coworkers about this because whenever she's thinking, she looks up. And I was like, what are you looking at? Like when you look up? Because I started looking up just because I was like mimicking her. And I was like, why am I looking up? I'm not looking at anything. And she was like, well, I'm literally looking at like boxes of like files of memories. And she's like, I'm like trying to find the memory in a box. And I was like, that's wild, like insanely wild. I really don't know how I store them. I have to like very clearly use like a memory trick or something. Like I do the song thing a lot. Like I said, I'll try and remember the feeling of something so I can go back to the memory. But I store memories a lot by like writing things down. And I'll write it. I have to write it down a few times, but like a lot of my job is really detail oriented, and everyone at work thinks I have a really great memory, which is crazy to me because everyone in my personal life thinks I have a terrible memory. And it's because at work, I think I'm constantly writing things down. But like when my friend's telling me a story, I'm not sitting there typing their story. So like I have to have like something like touch sensation or sound sensation to connect it to.
Do you associate your mind with an area or a space?
No, I think that's why meditation was so hard for me. They were like talking about it like it was.
So there's not any like rooms or compartments or anything in your mind?
No. One thing in EMDR was like, okay, think about like a box. And when you leave, you put all these back in a box. I'm like, what box? Like, there's no box.
All right. What does the phrase search your mind mean to you?
For me, it means like association games. Like if I'm trying to remember something and I can't quite remember what it is, I'll try and remember something associated to it.
So if you were to try to give a general description of how your mind works, how would you describe it?
Chaos, controlled chaos. Like I think I know what I'm talking about a lot of times, but I'm usually like, okay, wait, let me verify with myself real quick so I'm not like just like saying some bullshit. So it's controlled chaos, I think.
Okay, last question. If you could wave a magic wand and get rid of your aphantasia, would you do it?
You know, when I first found out about it, I 100% would have said yes. I've since, I think, scared myself out of saying yes because it feels so unknown that, like, I think I'd have to rework how I went through life so dramatically that I don't know if, like, at this point in my life I would. If you could, like, try it and then, like, if I could do a free trial, I would definitely do a free trial.
Yeah, that's what I always say, too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that is pretty much it. Celeste, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this one. Is there anything else you would like to say before we sign off?
I think just that I hope everyone keeps learning about it. I appreciate you for getting the word out there about it. I think it's super important and really helpful to know about for everyone.
Okay. I'm going to ask you one more thing, just because I rarely get this opportunity to talk to somebody who's read my book.
Yeah.
No pressure, but what did you think?
I loved it. I think you did a really good job of bringing in like other people in your life and other people that you've talked to, like bringing their stories into it. Whereas like everything I've read about it has been very scientific, but like I do find it way more interesting, like one-to-one with how unique everyone is. And I think you did a really good job of capturing that. And I'm sure a lot of that comes from all the conversations you've had, but I feel like I've read very scientific things about it and like they're interesting, but they don't like capture the human experience behind it as much. I feel like you captured a lot more of the human experience, like the day-to-day things. So I really enjoyed it. It was very interesting and like also had a lot of similarities to conversations I've had with people about it. So yeah, I made my coworkers look at it with me. I'm going to make everyone take the test because I made my fiance take the test earlier today. So I'm going to make everyone take the test.
Well, very cool. I appreciate that. I appreciate you picking it up and reading it and joining me today. It was a really good conversation, and you have a lot of really great insights and perspectives and experiences that I've never heard before. It happens every time, but very, very interesting and good stuff. So I appreciate it.
Perfect. Sounds good. Thanks again for having me. Hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thanks much. If you like what you hear, please subscribe, follow, and engage with us, and share it with your friends and family as we continue to explore this fascinating subject. For additional information about this episode or Shane's Brain, check out the show notes. Thanks for listening to the Discovering Your Mind podcast. You are beautifully unique.